Those was the dulcet tones of Brent Musburger. Great call, Brent. That was fantastic. That was just great.
There was some moment, Rich, a little sidebar when they saw the uncle, and
Yes.
it was Wayne Selden's uncle,
Yes.
with the clock, the handmade clock from the dollar store, celebrating like that. It was they came back for the championship game the next night, and our director was having a hard time getting a good shot because he didn't have as good a seat. Uncle Anthony was way up in the rafters, and it turned out that the family said, Uncle Anthony, we had enough of the semifinals. Get your butt up there to the nickel seat.
I love it.
And so he went way upstairs. But it was, Selden's one of those players. He'll disappear for a while, Rich, and then bada bing, he'll come through with something like that. But it was a great moment.
But I love that sort of stuff, Brent. Certainly, in this day and age where we can be cynical, and the professional sports scene is something that I obviously I love, and as you do too. But this is the joy, right? This is what this season, this time of the year is all about.
Exactly.
That sort of stuff.
Exactly, Rich. I think way back in the day when CBS took the tournament away from NBC at the time, and then went to televising all the games, and so the joy became really more of a national story. It had been pretty regional, and the Final Four was certainly on network television. But that was my initial reaction and love of the tournament came from just what you're saying. You put your finger on it. Obviously, in terms of performance, I've told people that in terms of basketball, nothing compares with what those guys in the NBA do. But for just the pure joy and the fascinating stories that we get about people this time of year, you can't beat March Madness. And let's face it, the committee in search of more money, they would add teams, but everybody loves the bracket the way it is. Everybody loves the 16 teams in each region. They've cluttered up a little bit with their play-in games. I guess now they call it the first four in Dayton, but they just can't dampen all the joy. And Rich, for the first time, I'm going to take Arlene, my wife. We've been married 50-some years. I've been to Vegas a lot for the first week. Yeah. When I stopped doing we're going to go out this week to Vegas and experience. I'm going to introduce her to March Madness Vegas style. But I love the joy. When they said you wanted to call and talk, I said, listen, bring it on. I'd love to talk to Rich because
thank you, Brent.
I know how much he loves it.
No, I do, and I appreciate it. I know you don't do this very much. So when you go to Vegas, you're going to read a book, right? That's the book that you will have, right?
That's
Brent?
right. And it's called Maker, the end of book.
Fantastic. Before we do get to the here and now, though, you did touch upon what you mentioned. I'm with Brent Musburger here on the Rich Eisen show about what the tournament was when you were first doing it with CBS. Because I do recall back in the day, as you referred to, making sure that we watched live on one network when these games were all coming to a head. I remember there was a lot of outrage that you missed this, you missed that. Now there's 4 networks that are covering this thing, 1 broadcast and 3 cable. Do you sometimes look back and marvel as to what this has become?
Absolutely. And I think, Rich, having the 4 networks, advantage for the fan, because you can switch to the game that you want to watch. Listen, every year, the animosity would grow, and the number of complaints, the switchboard calls, the letters, the media, and they were right. I mean, we couldn't sit in a control room and decide this is the game that everybody should watch. Now you've got access to all the games. I think, and this is kind of funny because I like the guys involved a lot. The only mistake that CBS has made, and maybe they have to do it, get those NBA guys off of the selection show, reduce it to 30 minutes, and get the names of those teams out there. It was excruciating yesterday, the way they were trying to reveal the different regions over 2 hours, and finally some guy said, I've had enough of this. And he just Twittered out the matchups, and everybody found out. But come on, the reason why I got the commercial thing. You can have all those experts talk about it after you reveal the teams that are in. I mean, we had teams like Monmouth that didn't make it. I mean, they wanted to know. We had teams like Vanderbilt that gets to a playing game. Come on, folks. Come on, in today's day and age, don't be sitting on things like that. I love Charles Barkley. I love him, okay? But he hasn't been following college basketball. Let him come in during the tournament. We've got a chance to see some of these guys and talk about them in terms of can they make it to the next level and things like that. Just get me Mr. Gumbo. Get me Seth Davis. Get those guys up there and tell me who's going where on the first weekend of the tournament. Thank you very much.
Well, what do you think is happening in the halls of the NCAA and CBS today about that leak bracket, Brent?
First of all, as soon as CBS calls to complain that it was leaked out, the guys are saying, look, we can sit on this only for so long today in this kind of a world. I mean, there's information out there. People have to know certain things, and it's good. You have to understand we can't put the lid on today's media. I mean, you just can't. Rich, the one thing that has changed so much in my lifetime, so much, is the instantaneous information. Now, it's great that we get it so fast. The lack of perspective bothers me. I'm an old newspaper guy. I like reading some analysis and things like that. But I'm not putting the genie back in the bottle. It's not going to be changed anytime soon. So thank you for your call. We appreciate the fact you've got it exclusive. But I'm here to tell you, if you sit on it as long as you did this year, it's going to happen again next year. Somebody's going to get their hands on the regions at different locations, and they're going to send it out. They're going to tweet it out, and you're going to get scooped. That's going to be end of story.
Brent Musburger joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's talk about the here and now. I think you and Vitale called the game of the year so far. Oklahoma and Kansas, the first time that they met each other. It's possible that they see each other in the Final Four. Handicap the Big 12 for me, since you've seen them quite a bit, Brent.
The team, Rich, that has improved the most and has the best chance, although they're in a tough region, would be the Kansas Jayhawks. Oklahoma played brilliantly that night. Buddy Hield was fabulous, but he's a shooter. He's a scorer from the outside. They don't have a lot of inside dimension to get themselves an easy bucket. Kansas has developed some of their bigs, not that they're stars, I don't want to say that, but Kansas can get to the rim a little bit easier than Oklahoma, so I would rate them 1. West Virginia, very, very dangerous. They made their way to the Sweet 16 last year before imploding at the hands of Kentucky. It's very difficult defense to get ready for. He's got waves of players. Doesn't shoot very well from the outside. Devin Williams is emerging from the star status, as you witnessed in the championship game. Those are our 3 best. Very competitive conference. Anybody that draws a Big 12 team in their opening game, they'll have their hands full. But when it comes to cutting the nets down in Houston, I would rate the Jayhawks ahead of the rest of the field in the Big 12.
Well, I mean, and there's Oregon. I mean, you know about the East Coast bias that everybody has, I guess, in the business. We try to have a West Coast bias out here, sitting on the West Coast. I mean, what do you make of Oregon? What do you make of that top seed, Brent?
Very, very deserving of a number 1 seed. I want to get the details about the Pac-12. When 7 teams go, Rich, and I think that's a number from the Pac-12, that means it's really a good conference. And so Oregon, having won it, and they decimated Utah. I was watching part of it after our game. No contest in the championship game in the tournament in Las Vegas. It is not an East Coast bias. Rich, it's a time zone bias. And I am here to tell you, as somebody who lives in Florida, when the football season starts because of the SEC, and it goes to Montana here in another month, it is so much easier for me to follow like Major League Baseball or NBA playoffs out west when I'm in the Mountain Time Zone. It is very difficult when you're in the East, and nobody's got a bias against them out there. We just don't see them. And then the other part of it, the Pac-12 has to solve themselves. The lack of penetration by the Pac-12 network is just hurting the brand tremendously. They've got to cut a deal with DirecTV. They have got to get more exposure for their regular season games. Part of their tournament in Las Vegas, I was told by some of the teams who were staying at hotels in Las Vegas, I know where I was at the Wynn for the West Coast tournament. They didn't have the Pac-12 network on their cable system. I couldn't even have watched it if they were playing. So I'm sure that went on during the tournament. So that's on the Pac-12. The time zone thing, you're not going to change. I mean, it's been with us I've known it. I've lived in Los Angeles. I saw it happening, and it's just a fact of the 3-hour differential between the East and the Pacific.
Brent, isn't it amazing? We're sitting here and having this conversation, and it's like, okay, so the network that has the NCAA tournament needs to get the brackets out quicker because social media is going to leak it, and another conference needs to get their conference-owned network on cable to help out, getting the word out. It's amazing what where we're sitting right now, Brent, in the 21st century, having this conversation.
I know. I know. And, some of the major boys, Rich, wanted the Pac-12 as a partner. For example, Fox helped the Big Ten tremendously when they moved into the Big Ten. And ESPN helped the SEC when they became involved with their network, which I worked for during the football season. And
Sure.
it is true. And the Pac-12 did not want a partnership with anybody. So they're going to have to. They're going to have to find a way to get more access.
So last one for you. Is it true you created the term March Madness? Because you're credited with that.
Well, let's be perfectly honest. I did not create it. I took it to the college tournament. And here's how it happened. There was an auto dealer in Chicago when I worked locally at BBM. And he called the state high school tournament in Illinois March Madness.
Okay.
They always went down to Champaign, played at the University of Illinois. So I used it with the high school tournament. I thought it was clever, well done. It was an ad writer in Chicago. And then when I took it in and I started in the studio before I started doing games. And so I just applied March Madness to it. A lawsuit broke out. The NCAA went to copyright it. Illinois sued the state high school association sued. They came to me and I said, listen, you don't want me to testify because you guys need to make a settlement. I took that from the State High School Association, and they did. The NCAA made a settlement with the State High School Association in Illinois, and now March Madness definitely belongs to the college guys.
Here it is. Hey, Brent, look, thank you for calling in. You are the best. Love it. I would love to, if you're in Los Angeles, I'd love to have you here in studio and pick your brain and just
love to see it.
Shoot it with you. That would be great.
You guys are doing a great job. I love the combine coverage.
Thanks, Brent.
I love that kid from North Dakota, man.
You like Carson Wentz? You like him?
I like him a lot. I covered a game with him, Rich, and he's got size. He's got a deep arm. I did a game in which he lost at Missoula to the Grizz last November. Injured an ankle late, and so he couldn't run for a first down on third downs. They knew they had him in the pocket. And that was the difference. Fine young man out of Bismarck, North Dakota. And the last young quarterback to come from the Dakotas or Montana is a fellow by the name of Brock Osweiler. And I'd love to be his banker this week.
That's right. And in the meantime, enjoy Las Vegas with your wife.
Oh,
Are you going to do it? You're going to take in Cirque du Soleil and read a book, right? That's what you're going to do?
Yeah.
What you're going to do there?
You got it, my friend.
Read a sports book.
Thanks for calling me.
All right, Brent, of course. Thanks for doing it. That's Brent Musburger.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.